श्री गुरवे नमः। 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 आचार्यं मां विजानीयात् नामन्येत कर्हिचित् नमर्त्य बुद्ध्या सूयेत सर्वदेव मयो गुरु। हे परम प्रियतम, हे परम प्रियतम, पूर्णतम पुरुषोत्तम श्री कृष्ण, पूर्णतम पुरुषोत्तम श्री कृष्ण। तुमसे विमुख होने के कारण, तुमसे विमुख होने के कारण अनादिकाल से हमने, अनादिकाल से हमने अनंतानंत दुख पाए, अनंतानंत दुख पाए एवं पा रहे हैं, एवं पा रहे हैं। पाप करते करते, पाप करते करते अंतःकरण, अंतःकरण इतना मलिन हो चुका है, इतना मलिन हो चुका है कि रसिकों द्वारा, कि रसिकों द्वारा यह जानने पर भी, यह जानने पर भी कि तुम अपनी पूजाओं को पसारे, कि तुम अपनी भुजाओं को पसारे अपनी वात्सल्यमयी दृष्टि से, अपनी वात्सल्यमयी दृष्टि से हमारी प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हो, हमारी प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हो। तुम्हारी शरण में नहीं आ पाता, तुम्हारी शरण में नहीं आ पाता। हे अशरण शरण, हे अशरण शरण, तुम्हारी कृपा के बिना, तुम्हारी कृपा के बिना तुम्हें कोई जान भी तो नहीं सकता, तुम्हें कोई जान भी तो नहीं सकता। ऐसी स्थिति में, ऐसी स्थिति में हे अकारण करुण, हे अकारण करुण पतित पावन श्री कृष्ण, पतित पावन श्री कृष्ण। तुम अपनी अहेतुकी कृपा से ही, तुम अपनी अहेतुकी कृपा से ही हमको अपना लो, हमको अपना लो। हे करुणा सागर, हे करुणा सागर, हम भुक्ति मुक्ति आदि, हम भुक्ति मुक्ति आदि कुछ नहीं मांगते, कुछ नहीं मांगते। हमें तो केवल, हमें तो केवल तुम्हारे निष्काम प्रेम की ही, तुम्हारे निष्काम प्रेम की ही एकमात्र चाह है, एकमात्र चाह है। हे नाथ, हे नाथ, अपने विरध की ओर देखकर, अपने विरध की ओर देखकर इस अधम को निराश ना करो,
इस अधम को निराश न करो।
हे जीवन धन,
हे जीवन धन,
अब बहुत हो चुका,
अब बहुत हो चुका।
अब तो तुम्हारे प्रेम के बिना,
अब तो तुम्हारे प्रेम के बिना
यह जीवन
यह जीवन
मृत्यु से भी अधिक भयानक है,
मृत्यु से भी अधिक भयानक है।
अतएव
अतएव
प्रेम भिक्षाम देहि,
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 प्रेम भिक्षाम देहि।
बोलो साकेत बिहारी श्री राघवेंद्र सरकार की
जय,
वृंदावन बिहारी श्री यादवेंद्र सरकार की
जय,
श्रीमद सतगुरु सरकार की
जय।
जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे। अब तो कृपा करो श्री राधे,
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 अब तो श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
तुम्हारे द्वार परो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
जात त्रिताप जरो 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 श्री राधे।
हो पतित खरो श्री राधे।
पतित खरो श्री राधे।
हो पतित खरो श्री राधे।
पतित खरो श्री राधे।
हो पतित खरो श्री राधे।
पतित खरो श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
मम गय माहुंडरो श्री राधे।
मम गयमहुंडरो श्री राधे।
मम गय माहुंडरो श्री राधे।
मम मम अभयम डरो श्री राधे।
माया मोह हरो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
मम और मन विहरो श्री राधे।
मम और मह विहरो श्री राधे।
मम और मह विहरो श्री राधे।
मम और मह विहरो श्री राधे।
अवगुण चित न धरो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
चाह शिशु बनी झगरो 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 श्री राधे।
मम पापन न डरो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
शतमन हतहि अरो श्री राधे।
षट मन हटहि अरो श्री राधे।
शतमन हतहि अरो श्री राधे।
षठ मन हटहि अरो श्री राधे।
माया तिमिर हरो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
उदत कर पकरो श्री राधे।
बूढ़त कर पकड़ो श्री राधे।
उदत कर पकरो श्री राधे।
बूढ़त कर पकड़ो श्री राधे।
अब जल नाव भरो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
अब जनी बेर 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 करो श्री राधे।
मम उर भगति भरो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
चाह पद रति न तरो 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 श्री राधे।
हो कृपालु तुम्हारो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
तुम्हारे द्वार परो 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 श्री राधे।
अब तो कृपा करो 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 श्री राधे।
Radhe Radhe everybody, welcome to Shri Radha Rani Temple. So Swami Nikhilanand Bhaiya, what can you say to introduce him? Nikhilanand Bhaiya is a disciple and sanyasi teacher of Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj, and for 20 years he has dedicated his life to teaching the deepest aspects of Sanatana Dharma found in the vast Vedic scriptures, with an innate ability to bring the most intricate and complex divine philosophies to his audience. He tirelessly teaches to adults and youth alike. Swamiji is able to help everyone understand how to practice the universal teachings of Hinduism, devotion, and meditation. He's one of the managing members of JKP Radha Madhav Dham in Austin, Texas, and Radha Govind Dham, New York, Dallas, and Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. Welcome, Nikhilanand Bhaiya. Kindly request to all of you, as Bhaiya is giving us pravachan, to keep your phone on the silence mode. Radhe Radhe.
Today's format will be question and answer. So I have a few questions that have been sent to us through YouTube, and I'll be answering those. One of them is the one that was advertised about how the Gita tells us to meditate. And you can also keep in mind, we have some wireless mics, so at a certain point, I'll be giving the opportunity for you all to ask questions. If you have anything that comes up in your mind, you'll get a chance to ask it. So I'll begin with Vandana, and we'll do a little bit of Kirtan, and then I'll start by answering the questions that I have received. Prathamam Sadgurum Vande Shri Krishnan Tadanantaram Guru Papatmanam Tratam Shri Krishnas Tvamalatmanam Cheto Darparnamarjanam Bhavamaha Davagninirvapanam Shreya Kairavachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्मुंह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये. Dear devotees, please join me in a few minutes of Nam Sankirtan. You can repeat the lines after me. Govind, Govind, Gopal, Radhe Krishna.
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 Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind, Radhe.
Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind,
Radhe, Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind,
Radhe, Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind,
Radhe, Govind, Govind, Gopal, Radhe Krishna.
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 Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind, Radhe. Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind,
Radhe, Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind,
Radhe, Govind, Govind, Radhe, Govind, Govind, Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna
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 Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Govinda Govinda Gopal Radhe Krishna
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 बोलो वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की
Jai
Radhe Radhe, everyone. As I mentioned, today I'll be answering 3 questions that have been sent in to our YouTube channel and or to my email. And after I answer these 3, if any of you have any questions, I'll be happy to take some questions from you as well. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you want to post questions for next Sunday, The next 2 Sundays, I'll be answering questions here. The first question is, how does the Gita tell us to meditate? Bhaiya, do you know how to turn the echo off? The effects? So, Gita tells us briefly in the 6th chapter. Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, at many places in the Gita, in fact, that we have to attach our mind to God. And meditating is a very effective way of doing that. Repeatedly thinking about something in a very deep way, in fact, is meditation. We many times are meditating without even knowing that we're meditating. Let's say somebody has said something hurtful to you. How many times might you think about that person and their words for the rest of that day? 100, 1,000, 1,000,000? I'm not even exaggerating, right? We go over it so many times in our mind. We're just dwelling upon it almost constantly. That is meditation. That's in a negative sense. In a positive sense, if someone is very dear to you, or you find this person gives you so much pleasure when you're with them, so then you may be thinking about, when will I meet this person again? When will I see them again? And when I see them, I'll say this to them, and they'll say that to me. You're imagining this whole scenario in your mind. This also we may do many times in a day. This is also considered meditation. Anytime we deeply dwell upon something, that's meditation. And it impacts or affects the mind. Whether we're thinking about someone in a loving, positive way, or we think about someone in a negative way, our mind is dwelling upon them, and our mind has the capacity to take on the qualities of the person or thing that we're thinking deeply about. In other words, when we meditate on a person or a thing emotionally like that, then it actually affects the quality of our mind. We start taking on the qualities of that person. So in a way, we already know how to meditate. You may not think that, oh, I don't know how to sit and cross my legs and make my mind blank. But making your mind blank is only one possible goal of meditation. There are many potential goals of meditation and many ways of meditating, but they all involve the mind and focusing the mind on something. So in the Gita, what does Shri Krishna say we should focus our mind upon? He says, Manah sanyamya machitto yukta asita matparah. 1/2 shlok. He says so much. Manah sanyamya and yukta asita. So he says here you're trying to focus your mind on something. So he recommends sit. Asita. Brahma Sutra says the same thing. Asina sambhavat. Achalatvam chapekshya. Try to sit quietly without too much fidgeting and moving around. Get yourself settled comfortably and think about something. Okay, what should we think about? Shri Krishna says it's very simple. Mat chittaha. Chitta means your heart, your mind. He says, Mat chittaha. Arjun, think of me. See, we already got one big question answered. What does Gita say we should meditate upon? Shri Krishna himself. He says, attach your mind to me, engross your heart in remembering me. And he adds one other thing. He says, mat paraha. So there has to be an emotional component to the meditation according to Krishna's instructions in the Gita. Mat paraha is one little word. Mat again means in me, Krishna is saying. And paraha is a little word that means a lot. It means to love him. Feel that he is my everything. He is giving me life and my whole life is for him. Having that deep feeling of attachment and that we belong to Krishna and he is ours. That's mat para. And he's the goal of my very existence. An expanded version of mat para is mat parayana. Kisi ke parayana hona. So Shri Krishna is saying, we should love him. We should feel related to him. And then think of him. So mat chitta, engross your heart, engross your mind in thinking of me. What benefit do you think that could have if our mind has the ability to take on the qualities of the one that it dwells upon? If we are dwelling upon Shri Krishna, what's one benefit? Well, Shri Krishna is the ultimate embodiment of perfect goodness, unlimited goodness. So whatever good qualities you could want, I want to be compassionate, I want to be forgiving, I want to be energetic, I want to be focused. Whatever are all the good qualities we call daivi guna. God is the ultimate limit of goodness. So if we attach our mind to him through meditation, we'll get those qualities automatically. And the negative qualities of the mind like anger, jealousy, greed, restlessness, these will all reduce. So Shri Krishna says, Upavishyasane yunjyad yogamatma vishuddhaye. He also calls this meditation yog because yog means to join. When you're dwelling deeply upon something, it means your mind is joined with that thing. So here he's teaching us that yog means to join our mind with him. And by doing so, upavishyasane yunjyad yogamatma vishuddhaye, our mind gets purified because he is pure and we're attaching our mind to him. So you see, I just quoted 2 half shlokas for you from the Gita. And Shri Krishna told us so much. He told us if we're going to meditate, we should meditate upon him. When we meditate upon him, it shouldn't just be a mental, technical exercise. There should be an emotional component to it. We should love him and feel related to him. Then we start taking on his qualities. And the more our mind becomes joined or in unison with Shri Krishna, in union with Shri Krishna, the more our mind purifies. Yogi yunjita satata matmanam rahasi sthita ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. A third shlok where Shri Krishna mentions that the one who does this is considered a yogi. Yunjita, they are joining their mind with me, therefore they are a yogi. In the Gita, the word yog and yogi is used in a different context than what we normally use it nowadays. The word yog means the effort of joining one's mind with God. And a yogi is the one who practices doing that. So in fact, a yogi is synonymous with a devotee. Yoga is synonymous with bhakti. So this in gist is how Gita tells us to meditate. Notice that Shri Krishna did not say meditate by breathing and just concentrate on your breath coming in and out. That's a nice way to meditate. Very relaxing. But keep in mind, whatever your mind is dwelling upon, you get the qualities of that. So Krishna is divine bliss and perfect goodness. So if you want to imbibe blissfulness, if you want to receive Krishna's grace, if you want to purify your mind, then you have to attach your mind to Him. One shouldn't think that, oh, meditation is meditation. It's all the same. Do any kind of meditation. Oh, if you're meditating on your breath, you'll get a nice relaxation, but you're not purifying your mind. Krishna didn't say, clear your mind and think of nothing. No, he said, yato yato nischarati manas chanchalamassthiram tatastato niyamyayeta matmanam vishateha. You have to control your mind. How? Wherever your mind goes, put Krishna there. You can try bringing it back, but you might get tired of that. I'm thinking of Krishna and my mind ran away. Now I'm thinking of something else. Let me bring it back to thinking of Krishna. Shri Krishna says in Gita, wherever your mind goes, put me there. Yattaha yataha tatas tataha. Wherever it goes, just put me there. In other words, he's reiterating that we have to attach our mind to Him. He didn't say clear your mind and think of nothing. He says, I know your mind is going to think of something. Whose mind would think of nothing? So whatever you're thinking of, put me there. If your mind goes to the office, think of Krishna in the office with you. If your mind goes to your kids, make Krishna another one of your kids and have him there with you. Wherever your mind goes. If your mind goes to your husband, see Krishna inside your husband. Make Krishna your husband. So the meditation of Gita is also taught here at Radha Madhav Dham. Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj further elucidated these concepts that Shri Krishna introduced in the Gita, and he called it Roop Dhyan. Roop means the form, because if you're going to think of someone, then you'll think of their form. Notice Krishna didn't say, think of my formless aspect. Later in the 12th chapter of the Gita, Arjuna actually asked him, should I think of you as formless or in your personal form? He said, Arjuna, it's very difficult to think of my formless aspect. Think of me in my personal form. Thus, Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj gave this meditation the name Roop Dhyan. If you're thinking of Krishna in his personal form, it means you'll think of his actual form. What does he look like? How are his eyes, his hair, his face? What is he wearing? How does he move? This is all Roop Dhyan, and this is how we engross our mind in meditation, according to how Shri Krishna told us in the Gita. So this was the first question. How does the Gita tell us to meditate? The other two questions that I got, let me just check, make sure I don't forget. One was about Shrap. Oh yes, one was about Sayujya Mukti. So the person is asking, does Sayujya Mukti mean losing one's individuality forever? Please clarify this. The goal of meditation is to join our mind with Krishna. Now when you and I do that, our mind is partly and temporarily joined with Krishna. The more we practice, the deeper that state of union becomes. But we're not perfectly attached to Krishna. We're not completely surrendered to him. So right now, to whatever extent we're attached to him, our mind receives his grace. Our mind, to the same percentage, gets purified and develops good qualities and reduces bad qualities, and in the very same amount receives a abhas, or reflection of Krishna's divine blissfulness. Ultimately, when one fully surrenders to Shri Krishna, then they attain the perfect state of union with him. That perfect state of union can be realized in one of two main ways. One is when you receive a divine body, senses, and mind, and you go to the divine world, just like you see depicted on some of these beautiful panels here in the mandir. You go to his divine abode with him, divine Vrindavan, divine Golok. And over there in his divine abode, because you have a body and he has a body, so you can see each other, talk to each other, you can embrace, you can be with Krishna in any way you want. Play games, serve him. This is one way of realizing God. Another way of realizing the state of perfect union is not to have a divine body, senses, or mind. In that case, just your soul merges into Krishna's formless aspect. So this is called sayujya mukti. In this state, you don't actually get to experience anything because your mind no longer exists. You didn't get a divine mind, and your material mind finished because it was material, mayic. And now the mayic influence and bondage over you is finished. Your body was also mayic. You left that behind when you went to merge into God. So no mind or senses or body, just your pure original divine soul. Then how would you experience anything? The soul needs faculties with which to experience. The soul needs senses. The soul needs a mind and a body in order to realize its potential to experience. The soul itself is the one with the potential to know, hear, see, experience. But without those faculties, just like you have an engine of a car, but that car engine isn't connected to an axle with wheels, and the car's revving up. It's alive. It has potential. It has power. But where are you going to go until you give that engine a drive shaft, an axle, and some wheels? Similarly, the soul has the potential to do everything. The soul is full of life, divine power, yet without a mind, senses, and a body, the rubber's not going to hit the road. You're not going to be able to do anything, think anything, know anything, experience anything. Right now, we have material faculties to experience this world. After God realization, we could get divine faculties to experience God and the divine world. But some people ask for pure only liberation. It's called kaivalya mukti or sayujya mukti. So in that case, you actually do lose your individuality. Although you don't cease to exist, but let's say you're a drop of water and you enter the ocean. Did you cease to exist? No, the drop of water didn't cease to exist. That molecule of H2O is still there. but practically it lost its individuality when it merged into the ocean. Similarly, you as a soul will never cease to exist, but if you merge into formless God in that state of Kaivalya Moksha, for all practical purposes, your individuality is finished. You merged just like a drop of water into the ocean, never to do anything or experience anything ever again. Do you still exist? Yes. Your soul still exists as an individual entity. But just like the drop of water that lost its practical identity when it merged into the ocean, you practically lose your identity when you merge into formless God. So these are the two main options in the divine world. Luckily for us, we have a choice. Anyone who's coming in, if you want to come and sit on the floor, there's plenty of space up here. You don't have to feel relegated to the back of the room. Of course, you're welcome to sit back there as well. I see people stacking up in the back there. We have plenty of room up here. In fact, we could open these doors, let people come in the front. You can open this door. Just let people come straight in the front. So this is the explanation of how do we lose our individuality when we get Sayujya Mukti. And the third and final question is about Shrap, curses. The person is asking, I hear about curses when you read our scriptures, Ramayana, Bhagavatam, Mahabharata. We always hear about this rishi giving this curse, this person getting that curse, even God gets cursed. So they want to know, what is that about? Is a curse a bad thing? Why does it happen in our scriptural history? So let's look at the actual meaning of the word Shrap, which means curse. Shrap in Sanskrit comes from the word Shreya Prad. Prad means dene wala. Shreya means sabse acha, apne hit ki baat. Shreya means our ultimate good. And Prad means that which gives. So Shreya Prad, or a curse, Shrap, means that which leads to something good happening. So let me give you an example. One time, Narad Ji came to Shri Krishna with pride that, I was sitting and doing devotion, and then Kamdev, the material god of love, he came with all his maidens and he tried his power on me. He tried to induce desire in my heart, but I was impervious to his influence. So he had that pride that, see what a great devotee I am. So Krishna said, this pride is also a dangerous thing. It can lead to a person's downfall. So let me cure my devotee, Narad, of this. So he tricked Narad Ji. It's a long story, but he gave Narad Ji a face that looked like a monkey. Narad Ji had come to him because, okay, I'll tell you a little bit more. When Narad left, Krishna said, okay, how will I teach him a lesson? He used his Yogamaya Shakti to produce a whole city that wasn't there before. And Krishna produced all the inhabitants of this city. And in this city, there was a beautiful princess who was getting married on that very day. And Narad Ji passed by and saw this princess, who, of course, being produced by Yogamaya, it's not the same as getting enticed by Kamdev, the material god of love. This whole scene was produced by Krishna's Yogamaya Shakti. So, of course, people will get Even a divine saint would get attracted. But Naradji didn't know this whole, what's the secret behind this whole situation. So Naradji saw this princess, and it was her Swayamvar. She was getting married. She was choosing her husband on that day. So Naradji saw the beauty of the princess, and he said, I want to be chosen by her. And he went back to Krishna and he said, give me a face like Hari. He wanted to be so beautiful that this princess would definitely choose him. Now the word Hari isn't just Krishna's name. So Naradji was asking, I want to be as good looking as you. But Hari also means monkey. So Krishna gave him a monkey face. And Naradji went back and sat in the crowd with other princes and thought, she's definitely going to choose me. And he ended up getting, people were snickering at him and saying little snide remarks quietly. And he was hearing all this and thinking, what's wrong? What's going on? And the princess also, when she saw him, kind of looked in surprise, like, how did this person think that they could come in this competition? Is this person crazy? Gave him that kind of look. So Naradji went and looked in the mirror and he saw, Krishna gave me a monkey face. He became furious and he went to Krishna and he cursed him. You are going to have monkeys as your servants. You'll have to be born on earth and have monkeys as your servants. And then, after having given the curse, Naradji felt, oh, what have I done? I just cursed my beloved Krishna. I'm his devotee and I cursed him. And Krishna said, Naradji, don't worry, this was all my plan. It was his plan to go as Ram and have Hanumanji and other Banas to get the chance to come and do his seva like that. So you see, this is one example you can read in Bhagavatam about this time. Naradji gave Shri Krishna a curse, and you think, curse? No, it was part of Krishna's plan to make something, some divine event happen that was going to benefit all the souls. See, we got to learn about Shri Ram and all of his leelas because of that one curse of Naradji. Another curse that took place, Sanakadik Paramahansa went to the divine abode of Vishnu, and they were stopped at the gate by Vishnu's gatekeepers, Jay and Vijay. Sanakadik Paramahansa are God-realized saints. They're always in the form of 5-year-old boys. And when they were stopped, well, Jay and Vijay were a little bit disrespectful to them, kind of saying, like, where do you boys think you're going? That type of thing. So those boys who are divine saints with their mind always established in God also became angry and cursed them. How dare you stop us? How dare you disrespect us? And then cursed Jay and Vijay to have 3 successive births on earth as Rakshas. So one of those births was they became Ravan and Kumbhakarna. In other words, it was also part of Krishna's plan that if I'm going as Ram, there has to be some interesting leelas as well, not just loving leelas, there has to be some fighting leelas too. Otherwise, what will all the little boys do Roop Dhyan of? They don't want to hear about Ras Leela and Krishna and gopis dancing. They want some fighting, right? So God produces all kinds of leelas. If I'm going to fight, I'll have to fight against my own people. Otherwise, other than a divine personality, who would be able to fight against me? So it was part of his plan that Jay and Vijay got cursed to go down to earth and be born as demons. And then Ram went and fought against them. When he killed them, he was just releasing them from that form and sending them back to the divine abode. So every shrap, whether it's Parikshit getting cursed by the son of that rishi that he had disrespected by throwing a dead snake around his neck, and then getting cursed by his son, you will die in 7 days from the bite of a snake. And his father scolded him, you cursed the king? Parikshit said, no, it's good, it's very good. I'll spend my last 7 days thinking of Krishna. And because of that, we got to hear the whole Bhagavatam recited by Shukdev Ji, the first public recitation of the Bhagavatam. So each and every shrap has a divine reason behind it. And it's always the case of a saint cursing another saint or cursing God. There are no shrap that happen where a saint gets angry on an ordinary person like you or me and curses us. That never happens. Saints curse each other as part of God's divine leelas. So this answers the question of curses or shrap. I also address the question of sayujya mukti, and I also address the question of how the Gita tells us to meditate. We have a little over 10 minutes left, and we can use that time for some kirtan, but before we do that, I want to just see, does anybody here have any extra question that they'd like to have answered today? We have some wireless mics, so if you'd like to, you can raise your hand, and one of our volunteers will come, and you can ask your question. Everybody else will also benefit from your question. Anything anybody would like to ask? It can be something related to what you just heard about curses or about liberation or about meditation. Okay, then I'm going to quiz you. If you're not going to ask me questions, then I'm going to ask you questions. Can anybody tell me what Shri Krishna said we should think of in our meditation? Raise your hand and we'll bring the microphone around to you. Where's the mic? Oh yes, Shashwat, you go ahead.
He says to focus the minds to him.
Excellent. Perfect. I told you in the state of sayujya mukti or kaivalya moksha, there are 3 things we are bereft of. 3 things we need in order to experience. Can somebody tell me one or more of those things? Raise your hand if you know. Sujata?
I think we can wait for somebody to.
Anybody else? No? No, you go. You tell us one of them.
Body.
Body. We're bereft of a body. What were the other 2 things we're bereft of in this? Yes, here.
Mind and senses.
That's right. Mind, senses, and body. So without those, we can't experience anything in the state of kaivalya moksha. What does shrap mean, actually? And I don't mean curse. I mean the actual definition of shrap, how I told you. Yes, go ahead.
It's giving the best.
That's right. Giving the very best thing. Excellent. Well done. Okay, anybody have any questions for me yet? Okay, what is the other main option of attaining that state of perfect unity with God? So we talked about kaivalya moksha, where it's a state of no experience, where the soul merges into God with no body, mind, or senses. But there's another option of how to enter the divine dimension. So can somebody tell me what happens there? You get something. What do you get? And what happens? Yes, Rajiv Bhaiya.
The other is bhakti, and we get divine body and mind to experience the Dvaitvad.
Good. Yes. So you get a divine body, mind, and senses, and you can directly experience God. Okay, you passed the quiz. Well done. We have the next 2 Sundays, I'll be speaking at the same time, and I'll be taking more questions. So either questions from YouTube or email that people send me, or if you have a question you think of later, you can email me, or you can write it down and give it to the front desk and ask somebody to give it to me. So we'll spend our last few minutes here doing just what Shri Krishna told us to do in the Gita, focus our mind on Him. We're going to do it with Kirtan. The Kirtan blocks out distractions and helps our mind stay more focused. But let us close our eyes and try to picture the form of Krishna. Give yourself the freedom to picture Krishna any age you want, younger or older. Decorate Him and dress Him any way you want. And really try to focus your mind on visualizing, what we call Roop Dhyan. We'll all do this together in our own way as we do some Kirtan. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
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 Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
Govinda Radhe
Govinda
Govinda Radhe
Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Govind Govind 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 Radhe.
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 Radhe Radhe Govind 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 Govind Radhe.
Bolo Shyama Shyam Ki. We'll have a few announcements and then we can do the arati after that.
Radhe Radhe. Welcome everybody to Sri Raseshwari Radha Rani Temple. And thank you Nikhilanand Bhaiya for today's pravachan. I needed to hear that. It's our pleasure to welcome all of you to our community satsang, and a special welcome to all the first-time attendees. Is there anybody who doesn't get Radha Madhav Dham's newsletter? You can sign up online at the front lobby, and